It's time for today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Should she also be, in your opinion, supporting a mandatory gun buyback program?
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got to pass some laws to deal with this. Now, I was heartened by the fact that 2 years ago we finally did a gun safety law, the Safer Communities Act, and it was the first gun safety law we passed in 30 years. 30 years. And it was modest, but it did save lives. But clearly, in the wake of what happened just the other day in Winder, Georgia, it's not enough. And the least we can do is move forward on the bipartisan spaces where ordinary people agree. Clearly, there's a disconnect between what the people, the American people, want and what they're able to get out of their government. Again, 87% of Americans believe in background checks, and yet I hear politicians say that it's not guns who kill people, it's people who kill people, and yet we don't even want to know who those people are. We won't even support.
Senator, just yes or no, though, should she support the mandatory buyback program? Just a yes or no.
Listen, look, as a pastor, I've done buyback programs. You can pick this issue or that issue. But I think that, again, there's not one single thing that will make all of this go away.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
All right, Quanell, obviously we're going to do politics tonight because we have the big debate tomorrow night. We're going to do some post-debate coverage on Fox 26 Live at 10 p.m. tomorrow evening. But that was Raphael Warnock, a senator from Georgia, and prior to that, a megachurch pastor. And it is shocking to me how poorly a megachurch pastor is communicating to his audience, which is the nation, on Meet the Press, about Kamala Harris's focus on limiting the Second Amendment. There's been a push from that after yet another horrible tragedy and another horrible school shooting, actually there in Georgia, which is why I believe Warnock was on. It turns out the dad was arrested as well for murder, the son not killed by law enforcement, charged as an adult, killed 2 teachers, 2 students, including an African-American student. It is unique in that the FBI was aware of him. The FBI had contacted the family. And, of course, the school was aware that there was a threat of a shooting that day. But the way America responds now is not, hey, why didn't the FBI do something? Why didn't the safety officer and all the police that work in that district, why didn't they do anything? It's about how we can use this as a vehicle to take away law-abiding citizens' ability to defend themselves. I don't know how the Democrats reconcile that with also wanting to defund the police, although they've shifted on that a bit. But Americans need to be able to defend themselves from the great number of people who are not being prosecuted for crimes. And
I'm not surprised that Senator Warnock has problems articulating his real truthful beliefs about gun legislation, gun control, what's needed. What he is really speaking about it's going to take some extreme measures to really deal with gun violence in this country. In fact, when it comes to gun violence, America is one of the leading, most violent countries on earth. So what we ought to talk about is what we're not talking about.
Okay.
Nobody wants to hold the gun manufacturers responsible for where their guns go and what their guns do. We are now willing to hold parents responsible for the children gain access to their weapons and go and harm somebody. Now we're putting parents on trial. If you really want to see gun control become better in this country to where the Second Amendment is not compromised, let's start holding the gun manufacturing companies responsible. Let me give you an example.
Okay, well, give me an example.
Every gun manufacturing company in America has the ability to put a tracking device on that weapon and also have have the ability to fingerprint that weapon at time of purchase, and that fingerprint goes on that gun to where that gun will not fire without the person who bought it and owns it holding it in their hand. They have the ability to do that, but they won't do it because they're claiming it's too expensive or too intrusive. Secondly, look at all of the damage that guns have done in the inner cities of America, in particular black and brown communities. But yet we don't have one gun manufacturing plant or company in any black or brown community. So how are these guns facilitating its way into our neighborhoods at such high numbers? But Pastor Warnock, let's call him that first. Pastor Warnock was pastor before he was senator. The reason why he's struggling, because he's a pastor that knows God demands he speak and teach what's biblically correct. But now, because he's elected, he must speak and talk that which is politically correct. And the problem is pastors got to pick and choose. Either you're going to stand with what God says and speak what God says, or try to become a politician and say that which is popular and does not offend those who should be offended. So I'm not surprised by his struggle, because I don't think that pastors should ever try to join the government's political programs as elected officials in this country. Why? You never heard of Moses, the part-time prophet, Abraham, the part-time prophet, Job, the part-time prophet, and the part-time politician.
Because you were
Preachers should never be politicians.
Nonsense. But first of all, mandatory gun buyback, what that is gun confiscation. That's not, they can use colorful language and try to make it seem like, oh, we're just going to purchase your guns back from you. But it is the state showing up at your door, banging on your door, and saying, give me your guns.
That's not what gun buyback programs are.
That's what a mandatory gun buyback program is, absolutely. You must have not been paying attention.
No, wait one second.
I let you go on for a long time. Let me finish.
He never spoke about a mandatory taking people's guns from them. He spoke about it's going to take extreme measures. That's what he was really saying.
I'm talking about the question.
The host wanted him to go directly to a yes or no answer. Does he believe in gun confiscation? And let me tell you something, brother.
So I'm not going to get to respond.
There are a lot of people in this country who should have their guns confiscated.
Okay, here's the thing. You talk about, oh, well, let's have liability for the gun manufacturers. If it can be established that gun manufacturers are intentionally flooding inner cities with their guns, but it can't. The way the guns get to, like Chicago, Illinois, very hard to buy guns. People travel, criminals travel to surrounding states. They'll go to Iowa, right? They'll buy a bunch of guns, then they'll bring them into the inner city of Chicago for criminals.
Ain't nobody black traveling to Iowa from Chicago buying guns from black folks.
That's absolutely not true.
They ain't buying guns from black folks. If they going to rural Iowa, they buying guns from white folks. Let's tell the truth. Let's stop this, man.
The truth is, you don't, if a car manufacturer builds a car and then a criminal takes that car and hurts somebody with it, it's not the car manufacturer's fault. The beer, people selling beer. Beer's legal, right? Well, all the DWI deaths in this country, you don't blame Anheuser-Busch.
But why? Because America does not want to lose the tax dollars that it makes from beer manufacturing companies.
No, because people should be responsible for their actions.
Wait a minute.
And the criminals that use guns.
Did not say the same thing about the tobacco industry. America went after the tobacco industry.
Do you want me to
and guess what? Alcohol kills more in America than tobacco do every year.
The difference is the tobacco industry actually lied and paid for studies to suggest they weren't as dangerous as they are. And they committed fraud.
And the beer companies don't.
There's no
the
beer.
Alcohol companies
there is
don't.
no beer company saying it's good for you or it's not bad for you.
It's hypocrites like you who want to point out tobacco deserves it, but not alcohol companies.
You want to take money from companies, right?
Nope,
and then if you do, then no one can buy a gun because they all went bankrupt.
About holding people in institutions
we don't need confiscation. We need the Second Amendment. And the way to solve it is put violent criminals in prison.
I don't want to take everybody's guns. But some of these folks.
Yes, you do.
Described Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election. My own view is slightly different. I think that in America today, there are a lot of people, rural people, working class people, who no longer believe that the United States Congress and government represents their interests. They're dominated by big money interests. So I think that there is something wrong personally when we are the only.
Described Vice.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, we just listened to Senator Bernie Sanders, who really became popular, in my opinion, a decade ago when he decided to run for president. A lot of young people, a lot of independent people, a lot of early progressive people liked the things he was saying because a lot of what he was saying was not the norm. It was outside the box. And he was willing to call things exactly as they are. But to listen to Mr. Sanders today and what he just said in that interview with that host is really disgraceful. What he really said, he wouldn't tell the truth. He just proved that he's just like the rest of those politicians. They will say and do whatever the hell they need to win an election and get elected. When she pointed out all of the flip-flopping that our sister Kamala Harris has done on these political stances that she had when she first ran for president and ran for senator. Now all of a sudden she's flip-flopped and changed. She's supporting these things. And then he goes on to say, well, she's being pragmatic, that she's only saying what she needs to say to win an election. Well, call it like it is. Tell the truth. She's saying exactly, Mr. Sanders, whatever she needs to say to win an election. So Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, none of those politicians are any different. And Bernie Sanders, too. They're all willing to tell the American people any damn lie that they need to win an election. And that's why our government has been hijacked and doesn't belong to the people anymore.
You know, I'm not a big fan of Bernie Sanders, right? I do think some of his policies, like in making sure all American citizens, he thinks everyone, but I think citizens should have some access, should have access to health care. And he's willing to take on the corporatists that really control both parties. However, when you look at Bernie Sanders holistically, this is a man that went to communist Russia for his honeymoon. This is a man that was on a commune in New England and got thrown out because he didn't do any damn work. You know, a commune is communal. Socialism, communism, it's about everybody doing work. Well, Bernie's not someone that believes in work. Bernie has been sucking on the government's teat at various capacities for decades. He's a millionaire. His wife's a millionaire. She bankrupted a local college. His son's a millionaire. They're all based on sucking the taxpayer dry while acting like he's fighting the good fight. And to some degree, he does fight the good fight better than others. But this statement, this incredible cynical reality suggesting that, because what he's saying is he is saying that Vice President Harris is just telling people what they want to hear. She's lying.
Charles,
and then she's going to end fracking. She's going to take away our private health care.
But if you're going to critique Senator Sanders,
yeah,
leave it at Senator Sanders. Why make personal attacks? Talking about his wife, talking about his son. Why make personal attacks?
Because they
fight him on the issues that came out of his mouth,
with anybody.
But leave his wife and his son out of it, man.
His
Leave
wife was implicated in widespread public corruption in fundraising for a school that is now under, right? And she did that because of his contacts.
But that interview had nothing to do with corruption of school officials.
It has everything to do with corruption.
Administrators.
He's telling America
leave that man's family alone,
to get elected. No, absolutely not.
That's why many good people don't want to run for office, because they'll never be fought and attacked on their issues. Their families will be attacked and targeted and persecuted.
You couldn't be more wrong. If you get elected to an office and then you take your power from being in office to steward millions of dollars to your family members, and people are doing it on both sides of the aisle, although Nancy Pelosi much worse than everybody else, but they are all doing it, and it's corrupt. And when you also do that and you combine that with a narrative that you are a socialist fighting for the common man.
That politician has been charged and indicted for doing so with his family, leave that man's family out of it, man.
So we should ignore all of the corruption in the Biden crime family, all the corruption in the Trump crime family.
His son was charged.
Okay.
His son was indicted.
How about Donald Trump?
His son pled guilty.
How about Donald Trump?
But attacking
how about Donald Trump's daughter and son-in-law?
Leave them family alone.
Stewarding
Deal with the
billions.
politician, man.
Why do you think Saudi Arabia gave billions of dollars to Jared Kushner, other than the fact that he is Donald Trump's son-in-law?
We know why they did.
And we should be
for
able
the
to talk.
connection.
We should be
for
able
the
to
relationship.
talk about it.
But wait a minute.
But especially
but wait a minute,
when
if
you're
Donald
a
Trump's
communist,
son does
when you're
not
an avowed
use his
socialist,
connection to do
it's his
influence,
son-in-law.
to do undue, unjust,
Well, of
illegal
course they are.
influence, that's a different discussion.
Oh, of course
but wait
they
a minute,
are.
Wait a minute. All the politicians and presidents and former presidents, when they become
I know what you don't want to talk about. It's Kamala Harris.
have hooked up with Saudi Arabia.
I know you
They
want to
have
go
hooked up
off
with
on
Saudi
this
Arabia.
tangent.
Saudi Arabia has literally damn near enriched every politician in Washington and former presidents for decades with that oil money.
I don't
so let's not
disagree.
pretend like oil
But
money
hold
ain't
on.
corrupted all of them.
But my problem with him specifically is he does it while he's acting like he's this socialist who doesn't believe in money and capitalism, when he absolutely does. It's the hypocrisy that is more glaring with him and his family. But let's get back to, do you agree with him that it's okay to lie to the American electorate to get elected?
Excuse me?
Do you think it's okay?
That's what every politician does.
Okay, no, hold on.
All of them do
but
it.
They
Do I
don't
think it's okay?
flip-flop.
Nope.
She
I
has
think it's
flip-flopped
wrong.
on almost every
and
issue.
I've said on
the
this
border.
show, I'm sick and tired of lying, con gaming politicians on both sides of the aisle. But Charles, unfortunately, no one can win an election in this country without telling people some lies that it takes them to get elected.
There are little lies,
And look,
there
man,
are big lies.
the hell with a little lie.
Okay,
A lie is a lie.
So if she's been telling us for the last year,
Look at
until
you.
she
They're
got it.
little
Hold
lies.
on. No. If she's been telling, there's two types. If
Ain't no damn two types of lies. A lie is a lie.
If she's been telling everybody the border is secure and Biden was perfectly fine. Two big old lies, not little bitty lies that politicians
And now
tell.
she's
big old lies.
flip-flopped,
And now
admitting
she's like,
there's a border problem. I agree with you on that.
How about the fracking?
But a lie is a lie.
I'm going to end fracking in Pennsylvania. Oh no, I'm all for fracking.
Because
she is lying
she's
about
willing-
everything.
But all those politicians do it. It ain't just her.
How about we get a politician that gets elected by telling the damn truth?
He'll never get elected, or she'll never get elected in this country.
In today's Face Off, up.
In that she's gonna fall flat on her face without a teleprompter. Remember her on CNN a week and a half ago? She was like squatting down. The people were like way above her. She's like hiding. Don't let Tim answer that question. I can't really talk. And it's because she's got serious performance anxiety. You can see that. So she's going to be on drugs. She's going to be bombed out of her gourd. That's the question. Is she come out all hopped out on some weird ecstasy, or she might be on a hit of ecstasy. I've seen her on TV. She looked like that at the DNC. Big old pupils, feeling good. Yeah, they're going to give her a Molly. I'm dead serious.
That was Austin, Texas's own, my hometown, Alex Jones. And I will tell you, he is the face-off, bleep-up of the day for very, very good reason. He was telling his very devoted audience that instead of talking about policies, right, this is the whole thing. This is what pisses me off the most, right, about this election. Because I think there are two candidates that have strengths in some areas and weaknesses in some areas, and that every American needs to list the strengths, list the weaknesses, and make a policy decision on who to vote for. And everybody has different priorities. But instead of talking about that, it's Trump's a Nazi, she's a slut, it's all this nonsense. And now Alex has gone even farther and said, is Molly ecstasy? Is it MDMA? I don't know what Molly is. I'm not that hip with the drugs. I know, maybe you know about it. I'm kidding. I know you don't. I know you don't even drink, Quanell. But the thing is, this is what we do now. This is what politics are. Me and you have been robustly debating policies that we disagree on for years, right? But instead now, it's all just, let's say some crazy, ugly thing that I can say about the other side so my listeners can get all little Alex Jones little fans like, oh yeah, she's going to be high, she's going to be eating pills. And why? If she's got anxiety, which I mean, she's clearly an experienced public speaker, but if she's got anxiety, why would it be Molly or ecstasy? Why not just go get an anti-anxiety drug from your pharmacist? But at the end of the day, why are we even talking about that crap? Why aren't we talking about her damn policies?
I'm going to tell you why we're talking about this man, Alex Jones. Several reasons. One, he has a history of saying things that most people would not dare say, but they wish they could say on his show.
No, he has a history
He
of
has
lying
let me
about
finish.
families whose
Let me
kids were
finish.
executed
Let
by a
me
mass
finish.
shooter.
He has a history of bringing people on his platform that mainstream media people would run away from because these people are saying things that mainstream media is scared to death of ever getting out there to the public. Thirdly, he's saying these things because his media empire is under absolute attack. When he lost that trial and now that judgment is on him for over $100-some million, and they're talking about confiscating right now all of his assets and bank accounts in his studio. So now he's extremely angry, extremely upset, and he's making some extremely ignominious statements in regards to Kamala Harris. To just sit there and say dumb stuff about she may be on Molly's or she may be on drugs because she has performance anxiety. Let me tell you what scares me about Mr. Jones. How many millions of people you say he has subscribing to?
I don't know, but it's a bunch.
Tens of millions. Tens of millions. Now, what happens when a man like that, out of his emotional ignorance, his emotional anger, his own personal hurt and pain, starts feeding those millions of people information that is totally detrimental and raises issue of domestic safety for American citizens? That's why we should be concerned about what Alex Jones is saying.
So what are you saying? Now
because
you want to limit his right to free speech?
I'm not saying that.
Well, it seems like that's
but
what
this
you're
is
saying.
what I'm saying. If this man would say something so stupid, like what he just said, what else is he capable of when he's under more stress and he has more anxiety about losing all of his assets in his company than Kamala Harris?
Very different opinion.
This man is extreme, and he's under threat of losing more than her.
For years, he allowed his platform to push a lie that the victims of the Sandy Hook mass murder of children were crisis actors, and he appropriately got sued for it. He did a bad job defending himself, and he got lit up in court, and now they're enforcing that judgment, and I applaud those people for doing it. When you lie, there should be accountability. What you're talking about is you're pushing this new narrative that the government should come in and threaten people's free speech.
I'm not saying that, but I'm telling you something.
The man's a lying clown. He's always been a lying clown.
You can't go into a movie theater and yell fire either.
I didn't know you.
You better be held accountable.
This man's
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.